In today's video, we're going to give you a little bit of a overview of what we're going to do with the engine on this 1966 Ford Mustang, and we're going to probably take it on its last journey without an exhaust manifold into the shop. Welcome to the garage, Black Betty. This is where you're coming to get a new heart. The carnage that was the 351 Windsor is in that corner over there. But from that, I guess I was forced to go ahead and look at my engine hoarding behavior and see if there was anything that I could use for this car. I happen to have a 302 out of a Bronco, a 69 302. That was in this cradle, and it was on the ground here. I went ahead and lifted that up here and took the pan off, and I found a huge mouse nest inside the pan. Oh, that's pretty cool. And I went ahead and tore this down. I didn't think I'd put you through all that again. You can only do so many engine teardown videos. But I wanted to make sure that it looked like it was a viable engine before I did anything else with it. I didn't want to be disappointed on camera again. And it looks good. It's standard rings, standard pistons, standard bore on the crank. No damage to the crank. I didn't damage it on the way out. The rings, I took the old rings and put them into the bores, and I had a pretty significant end gap on it, which means those rings are worn out. But the bore shouldn't be, it's not worn out, so I should be able to put new rings on it and get an acceptable ring end gap out of this engine. I intend also to pull the crank out and replace these main bearings, only because they do wear out, and they do tend to cause lower oil pressure when they wear out. And then also the middle main bearing, which is number 3, it's this one. That one has a spacer on either side of it that controls the movement of the crank back and forth, and it controls the wear that you get out of these, out of the length of wear you get out of the connecting rods. Now you'll notice on these connecting rods that we have copper showing there, there, that one's not in it at the moment, and there. And so the reason they're all worn at the top is when the engine fires, it forces that piston down, and that's what takes the load right there. And so the bottom ones look fine. And so this engine was driven, it was maintained, it was at some point it just it got tired and it was taken out and just left to sit. But luckily it hasn't been modified, it hasn't been bored. And so my intention is just to go ahead and pull this back together with some parts that I have here, as well as some parts that I'll need to locate. I'm going to use the heads off that 351 engine that I was working on last week. Those heads are closed chamber heads. They will increase the compression of that engine, and they have huge ports and huge valves, so they should make it run really well. The other thing that I'm going to do is I'm seriously considering changing the cam in that engine, because being a 302 is probably a 200 horsepower engine, and I'm thinking about using the cam that came out of this Windsor. It will go in there, it just changes the firing order. But this cam is in good condition, and I have the matching lifters for each of those. And so that's a thought that I have at the moment. The cam is marked as 288, and I think it might be a crane cam or something. And it's probably from the 70s maybe. I mean, I don't know when that 351 Windsor was put together, but it's been around a long time. So yeah, that's my plans for this Mustang. And you can see she's looking pretty, and she's looking like she needs a little more power. Doing this is a lot of work. Changing it, I'm going to need to change the throttle. It's right there, and it's going to need to come over to this side, but that piece is available and you can buy it. The other thing is I'm going to have an exhaust system for this thing. I do have a set of headers for a Bronco that may or may not fit between these wheel wells. We'll have to try it. If not, I think I have 1 or 2 exhaust manifolds that are factory manifolds for a 302. But I think that it's going to need headers. So, and then it's going to need an exhaust system, and it's probably going to need a crossover pipe so that we can get the maximum benefits out of it. So anyway, there'll be a lot of work to do there. If you have any thoughts on what I'm doing and any concerns or questions, or you just want to let me know what you did, feel free to do that. I'd be happy to hear what you've done, what you've found, and that way I can avoid any mistakes that making the same thing. I had one of these cars when I was much younger, probably about 20 years old, and I put a 289 in it out of a Falcon that I found on the beach, actually abandoned, and went out on the beach and pulled the engine and put it in that Mustang. And I took shortcuts, just like typical. I did not change any of the front suspension, and as a result, the entire time I drove it, it would not turn as sharply to one side as to the other, because the drag link would hit the starter on, I think it was turns to the right. You just had to kind of plan that into how you drove it. But that car, it was a cool car, and I owned it down in South Texas, and I brought it up here and drove it in New Mexico, and it caught fire one time on me up in the mountains when I was driving with a load of wood in the back seat. We were poor and we needed heat, and that Mustang, I got it out and got it home, and then replaced all the wires and hoses and got it running again. So anyway, that's what we're doing. 302 into the '66 Mustang. Thank you for watching.